The Last Level, a horror game story by Luke Rebull. It was supposed to be a normal night of gaming for Jake. He found an obscure indie horror game called The Last Level on a sketchy forum. The game had no reviews, no trailers, just a cryptic description: beat the last level and your deepest fears will be revealed. Intrigued, Jake downloaded the game with the file size surprisingly small, and within the game's title screen was an eerie, minimalistic design and a single flickering candle in the center of a dark room. No music, no intro, just silence. He pressed start. The game began in an abandoned house, the type you'd see in every horror game. Decaying walls, broken furniture, and ominous whispers that seemed to come from nowhere. The objective was simple: surviving until morning. Jake navigated his character through the house, solving puzzles and avoiding strange shadowy creatures that would dart across the screen. It was unsettling, but nothing too different from horror games he'd played before. That is, until he reached the last level. Suddenly, the screen flickered, the game glitched, and the sound distorted. Jake's character was nothing, now standing in a room that looked oddly familiar. He paused, his heart racing. The wallpaper, the layout, and even the photographs hanging on the wall. This was his own living room. He leaned in closer to the screen. There was no doubt about it. The game has somehow recreated his house down to the smallest detail. His unease turned into panic when he heard a sound that didn't come from the game. Footsteps behind him. He whipped around, but his room was empty. Swallowing his fear, he turned back to the screen. The character moved forward on its own, entering the hallway. In the game, camera panned slowly, revealing the same hallway Jake was sitting in. There, standing at the end of it, was a figure. The character's movement stopped, and the screen zoomed in. The figure was tall, its face obscure in shadow. But its posture, it was unnatural, twisted. Jake felt the temperature drop in the room as his breath quickened. He moved his joystick to back away. But the character wouldn't respond. The figure began to move slowly, at first, then faster, sprinting down the hallway towards the screen. Jake's heart pounded. He pressed every button in the description, but nothing worked. The figure grew closer and closer until it was inches from the screen. For a split second, the game froze. The figure stared directly into the camera, and Jake could swear it was looking at him. Then the power in the house went out. Plunged into darkness, Jake stood up from his chair, trying to calm his shaking hands. His computer shut off with a quiet hum. But the footsteps returned, this time louder, more deliberate. They were in his house, coming from the hallway. In the faint moonlight streaming through his window, Jake saw it, the figure from the game, standing at the end of the hallway, watching him. Frozen in terror, Jake didn't move. The figure began to walk towards him. Same unusual posture, same twisted gait. His heart raced, but his legs refused to move. It was closer now, close enough for Jake to see its face. His own reflection distorted into a grotesque, terrifying grin. The last thing Jake heard before everything went black was a soft whisper in his ear. should never have played the last level. When the police found his body the next day, his computer was still on. The game had completed itself, and on the screen, a single line of text glowed in the darkness. Game over. And that was a short horror story. So I hope you enjoyed.